Guess who's here?
Our friend.
Leslie Householder! Oh, she's on mute. Somebody tell her unmute.
I got it.
Oh my goodness, it's Leslie Householder.
Oh, good to see you guys. Oh my word,
Oh.
you are still real.
Right? We are real. Hi,
Oh
Leslie.
my
This
goodness.
is so exciting. Oh my
My,
stars. I'm gonna actually start to cry just seeing you.
you too. You too. It's been way too long.
Yes. Thank
So
you
much to
so
catch up
much.
on.
Thank you for accepting the invitation to be here today.
Of
This is a
course.
really, really special call. Kirk and I, we have a lot of really best friends, and we get to share this experience with them because, Leslie, I want you to know, us meeting you changed our life forever.
And likewise.
We will never be the same.
How come
So,
I'm crying so much right
ah,
now?
I know. We're just
Hey.
starting. Okay. So, Kirk, do you want to start out and then I'll share my little piece,
Yeah,
then we'll jump over and
I'll jump right into this.
okay.
So, obviously, because Kim and I are crying, we haven't seen Leslie in quite a while, quite a number of years. And just the fact of being able to see her and hear her voice brings back a lot of memories of some difficult times in our life that we were looking for answers, and God put Leslie Householder on our path. And it was a crazy way how it happened, but looking back on it, it makes sense why it happened that way. To those who are listening right now, we're gonna have a reunion, obviously. We're having a reunion right in front of everybody in connecting with Leslie because we've been talking about the Jackrabbit Factor, and Kim got this crazy idea if she will jump on, and it's like, what? Didn't think about that. Reading it and studying it, and what happened? How do we meet Leslie Howe? I just got started my story.
I know we have some constant. It's like every couple's.
Oh no! Of
I
course, the
know.
internet.
Do you guys do a hotspot on your phones ever? Can get past
Please do,
whatever's going
Kirk.
on locally.
We
Only when it's really important. Okay, so fast
okay, I'm
story.
not
A
glitching.
friend gave me the
Okay.
book. I didn't read it for a while. I finally read the book. It shocked me what I learned. I told Kim about it. We started following what was taught in the book. I mean, literally immediately started following what was in the book and what we were learning at what we could comprehend at that time. Kim, in her relationship side, she's like, "Hey,
What
let's
what
reach
I
out to
did is
Leslie."
I got to the end of the book and I don't know where it was, Leslie, but somewhere your email was at the end of the book. And I emailed you and said, "Hey, Leslie, I read your book. It's changing our life. Da 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 da. We have some friends that we want to introduce you to. Would you be open to coming to Salt Lake and doing an event?" And she reached out and we got on a call together. And I don't remember exactly the exact timeline of everything, but she ends up getting on a plane, coming in Salt Lake. We invite her to introduce her to all of our friends, and she's like, "Whoa!" Kirk gave her the best introduction she's ever had. Do you remember that, Leslie?
Oh man, yeah. Yeah.
I remember he finished and you're like, whoa, was he talking about me?
Right. Like he set a bar after that.
Uh,
Right, right,
that's
right.
great. That's great.
Okay, so Kirk, I'll let you run now.
So what happened then is Leslie comes to Salt Lake. She comes to an event. We get to share her with a bunch of friends, and all kinds of people then get to know Leslie Householder. And ever since then, we always talk about her. We always talk about her book. And every time I'm on stage, I'm thanking her for being one of my massive influential people in my life for her words of wisdom. And so we developed a relationship with Leslie. We actually got to go and meet her family. She stayed at our house. I mean, it's just like we're friends. We're like, and we don't have those kind of expectations. Like we have to always catch up on each other. We can always just check in and see how each other are doing. And so this is just a beautiful moment, and to be able to connect with you, Leslie. So we have been studying the book, just barely getting into it. but I want to pretend like everybody here has read the book. Like everybody's read the book. Because that's the plan is everybody here is going to read the book. And if somebody's listening and they haven't, then they're going to get the details of where to find the book and listen to the audio or something. So everybody who's listening, so that's my plan is everybody's going to want to come back to this and listen to this discussion about what it was like. What were the principles? What were something in there that you would say, hey, you might want to go back and read this chapter. You might want to go review this. So I have some questions I want to ask you about this because my recent reading of this, I am floored about all the different things that you are teaching in here that all go together. But wow, I have some questions. Can I ask some questions?
Here we are 18 years later,
I
changed our
know.
life once, and
No
now it's doing
way.
it like,
No
wow.
way. 18 years?
No, is it? No.
Yeah, because yes, because our company's been in business. We've been oh, maybe it's been 15 years. Would that be
Okay.
because
15.
it was in 2000. Yeah, it was 2000. Three Candles became a company in 2009, and it's 2025. And you were in the you were actually, we knew you before we even started Three Key Elements, Leslie. So this is clear back. This had to have been 18 years ago.
That's so
18 years
crazy.
ago.
Whoa. Okay.
That's
Okay,
crazy.
so I got some, I'm super curious. Number one, why did you write the book?
Oh man. Uh, well, my husband and I, we were starving college students, young newlyweds, baby on the way right away, and medical bills and cars that won't start and the whole shebang. And I had kind of I had developed a relationship with my father in heaven that I felt like I could trust forever. And finding myself in this situation that went on for about 7 years, it was a very long 7 years, got me questioning everything like, where'd he go? Like, what happened? I thought that I was doing everything I was supposed to be doing. We're trying to live the principles and the commandments that we understand. And we're supposed to, if you're righteous, you shall prosper. And it just was like collapsed out from under us. And I couldn't make sense out of it. I went into depression. My husband, he's like, I didn't know you were ornery when we got married. I said, I didn't know I was ornery when we got married, you know? And as some of you can relate to that. And we had some friends that could see that the way we were reacting to every blow, every time, there was a fender bender, or every time there was someone stole my clothes out of the laundromat or whatever, every time there was something that would happen, I would just get mad. And I was like frustrated and didn't know how to handle. I had no coping skills. And I just felt betrayed. And so they saw that, at least mine, Trevin was a lot more steady, which sometimes drove me crazy because I'm like, do you have no idea how stressed we should be right now? Why are you not stressed? I guess you're not stressed, therefore I have to be, It was frustrating, but these friends of ours could see that our reaction to our challenges was contributing to our challenges. And so they started inviting us to come with them to these monthly workshops or seminars that were teaching us mindset. And, we would come away from them like, oh, so we just have to believe. Okay, great. And then another blow, and we'd be, see, it didn't work. And we were just upset again. And we couldn't connect these principles to actual results. It was working for everybody else, but not us. And so we were doing this I counted over 100 workshops or seminars that we went to, and we were spending grocery money to go to these things. Sometimes it was only $10 here and there. Sometimes it was a $300 weekend event. Sometimes it was just like, we are missing something and I don't know what it is, but there's something to this mindset thing that I can't quite figure out. It kept me going. It kept me believing, but dang, if we couldn't just make it work. And so finally, 2 kids later, and we are now living in California. We are broke at a higher level because we had managed, oh gosh, I wish I had 3 hours. So there was one time where I remember the seminar speakers had always said things like, picture what you want, dream big. And I'd be like, yeah, I got that. But what do I do? What do I say to the prospect? How do I close this sale? We're in direct sales now because we had no other options, and we're trying to figure stuff out. How do we posture ourselves? How do we dress? How do we, whatever, trying to succeed in any way we could figure out. And I reached a point where I'm like, you know what? Picture what you want, dream big. We'd paid these seminar people money and we're like, no wonder they have money. We pay them money to tell us how to get money and it doesn't work for us, but it worked for them, didn't it? And so I'm jaded, I'm frustrated. And hitting a low point, I thought, you know what, fine, I'll just picture what you want, dream big, fine, I will. And I went to bed. And I'm like, if I can't live in a life the way I think life is supposed to look, I'll just live it in my head. I'll check out. Kids can find their own food. I'm just done. And I laid there and I'm like, all right, picture what you want. Really like to have a house of our own, because this little apartment that has the cigarette smoke coming through the outlets from our neighbor, and the kid who stole my broom outside and broke it, and just all these data points that told me my life was miserable. I thought, well, what would it be like to be in a home of my own? And I found it really hard to create a vision of that, or an image on the screen of my mind with that. Oh, it was harder work than I thought. That was hard work. That is the hardest work you'll ever do. But that's what I'm like, I gotta, what would that feel like? And it's asking the question, what would it feel like? And imagining it until you feel it, because the answer to the question, what would it feel like, is a feeling. It's not words. And the only way to get to the feeling is to trick your subconscious mind into believing that it's actually happening. And you do that through imagining and daydreaming and whatnot. So I'm doing that. And I'm picturing like, well, what would it be like? Okay, well, maybe I'd be coming home with the groceries and I open the door and my kids run up from behind me and they run in ahead and they chase each other. And I'm just picturing a scenario of being in a home of our own. And I felt it for just a moment. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of fun. And pretty soon I'm like, well, I got to get back to, somebody's crying. I need to get back to my life, whatever. And I didn't think another thing of it. Within a year, remember, we'd been doing this 7 years. And within a year of that moment, we were living in a house of our own, and the groceries, the whole thing happened. And this was actually an opportunity that opened up for my husband, who wasn't qualified for this opportunity, but it happened anyway. And it took us to California. Well, since I didn't know what I had done, since I didn't connect it with what I had done, we very quickly found ourselves broke at a higher level. And I'm upset again, and I'm frustrated again, and we're still going to seminars, and we're just blah, until I told my husband, like, I can't do this anymore. I can't keep hoping that something's going to change and have it just crash again. And along comes this opportunity to go to another seminar. And I'm like, deep down, I know I have to be there. And this one was in Utah. It was at the D Event Center, I think in Ogden. Is that right? And I'm like, oh, I know I have to be there, but I don't want to go. I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of it. Where are we going to find a babysitter? Blah, blah, blah. And how are we going to afford it? And I told my husband, all right, fine. I will go to this one. But if something doesn't happen at this one, I'm done forever. You can keep doing what you're doing. I don't care, but I'm out. I am so out. And he's like, that's fine. So we went, and the guest speaker there was Bob Proctor. And this is a man, he has since passed away, but he explained, he started out, he's not a member of my faith, but he quoted a verse from Mormon scripture where he said, there is a law irrevocably decreed before the foundations of the world. And I'm not going to quote it correctly, but that whenever we obtain a blessing, it's by obedience to the law upon which it is predicated. So there's blessings and obedience to laws that connect to each other. And if we want this blessing, we need to obey this law. And what's interesting about this event is that all the others had been very hypey, and you can do it, and here's how, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, look, there's a law, you follow the law, you get the result. And he was so boring that I didn't really even pay attention. And by the end of the event, everybody was in a buzz. And I'm like, well, what'd he say? because I was checked out. I was talking to my neighbor about all the drama that we had to go through to get ourselves there, and I missed it. And 2 months later, people are still talking about that event. I'm like, oh my heck, that was going to be my last one, and I missed it. And the company that hosted him decided to bring him back and not just give him 2 hours, but give him 3 days. And nobody had ever seen that happen before in this organization, to bring the same speaker back twice. And not only that, but to give him the whole weekend was huge. And I'm like, I'm going to be on the front row if I can help it. I'm going to have my notebook ready. And we sat on the edge of our seats, and he explained how our minds work and how it works with universal law. And the way he outlined it was like, oh, that's all it is. And it was so simple. And it finally landed. We went home and tripled our income in 3 months. Just doing the same things we were doing with a higher awareness. That's what mindset is. It's thinking on a like a broadcast up here, like radio stations running through your, there's radio stations running through the room all the time. You're only hearing what you're tuned into. And it tuned us into a broadcast of ideas and ways to respond to our setbacks that we had never really been tuned into before. And so because that had been so impactful and made such a profound difference, I'm like, I have to share what I've learned. We got a message from Bob Proctor 6 months later saying, have you ever thought about teaching what you've learned? I'm like, yes, me. And he's like, I'm training facilitators. So I went and I trained with Bob Proctor to teach his program. But I had 5 kids, I think, one on the way. My husband was working 2.5 hours away. Yeah, we tripled our income, but it was at a cost. He was commuting 2.5 hours, So life wasn't all just perfect. It's just we saw the results of thinking right and how much it can change stuff. And so I started teaching his program, but then I'm like, I feel guilty not sharing this, but I'm in the thick of raising little babies and kids and trying to get a house ready to sell and all this stuff, because we also got into real estate about that time. But I decided that, okay, if I want to share what I've learned, but I don't have time to put on events and seminars, Kirk, Kim, you know how exhaustive that can be, then I'll write a book. That's the Jackrabbit Factor.
Wow.
That was a longer story than I planned to share, but
No,
that's where
that was
the Jackrabbit Factor
perfect.
came from.
Yeah. Yeah, that's perfect. Because the come from, explains why there's so much heart in this. There's so much soul in this and so much relatability. Like every page is relatable, no matter which character you're listening to speak in the book, because it's coming from your experiences that you wrote during that time and what you learned during that
Well,
time.
I'll tell you, the fodder for that whole story was my stack of notebooks from all those 7 years of seminars, because we would get a nugget, we'd get a nugget, but it wasn't the whole picture until it all came together with this understanding that we gained from Bob. And then I could look back and understand what those nuggets and the role they played in the whole picture. So I just made sure that every one of those nuggets was covered in the book.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's awesome. That's beautiful. Thank you. And which leads me to my next question. What is your favorite part of the book? You're the author. It takes a lot of time to write it. But I know there's parts that it's like, oh, this is my favorite piece though, the moment, or what is it that stands out?
Well, can I be honest?
Yes.
I don't know if this is the right place to say this, probably not. But I can't even read the book anymore because
Because,
of what I've learned since.
right?
And so read the book so that you can get to the sequel. I can read the sequel all day long because of what basically the Jackrabbit Factor got us up to the recession, and the recession spanked us. And it was like, wait a minute, I thought these principles were universal and true and ever present and always dependable. And it felt like they got suspended during the recession. And so I'm like, whoa, there's something missing. What else is there for me to learn? And what we learned through that became why there needed to be a follow-up. And so I'm sorry, I know that wasn't your plan
No,
for today's
no,
conversation.
that's what we need to hear though. But do they skip the book? Do they skip
No,
Jack? You can't
no,
skip it, right?
no, do not skip it. And it's a fast read. I think most people can read it in one sitting. Jackrabbit Factor. It's not, you've got a couple hours, you could probably read it. My favorite part of the original, let me see, it's been a long time since I read it.
We kind of put her on the spot, Kirk.
That's okay. That's okay.
While she's thinking, you can also have Trevin read it to you too.
Yeah,
On the
that's
YouTube
true.
channel.
That's true. Well, I
There's a
think
link. We'll send it to you.
what I do love about the first book is that you've got Richard, who is the main character. He's the provider of the family, and he is just at rock bottom. He's like, he doesn't know what to do. He just doesn't know what to do. So he disappears into the woods behind the home to clear his head. Wife doesn't know because it's not like him to just disappear like that. And then she overhears something on the radio or on the TV that the case of this whatever was deemed to be suicide, and that plants an idea in her head like, uh-oh, wait a minute, my husband isn't that desperate, is he? He's not that down, is he? And she starts worrying about him. And so the book starts following both of their paths. He's stressed, overwhelmed, doesn't know what to do, desperate. She's desperate. They're both desperate. And what you find in the book is following the both of them. They both have to learn certain things before they get what they both are looking for. And so that's one way to look at it, is that the principles, my intent with that is that you're going to learn the principles from her perspective and from his perspective. And it's different, but I think you're going to find that each one of them have those moments where you can relate to either one of them. Like someone will ask me, who were you? Were you Felicity or were you Richard? I'm like, yes, I was both. You know, I was both. A lot of that is from real stuff, just put into a story form to be a little more relatable to anybody. But
Love it.
Cool.
would be my
I was going to
answer.
bring that up about the two different sides to the story, but that don't skip, don't just read one person's view in the book. You got to look at all the characters because every character is putting another piece to the puzzle. Like pay attention to everybody in the
Another
book, especially.
principle, another gem.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The way it comes together. Okay. So I know you got to go here pretty soon, but you mentioned your sequel. So I don't think anybody here knows about what the sequel is. So pretend like nobody knows. What's the sequel?
Okay. So it's a little bit of a spoiler about Jackrabbit Factor, but things turn out well at the end of the book. All right. So you don't have to wonder if this is just a downer. You're going to feel good at the end. Okay. But with their newfound understanding, they're like, oh man, we're going to go conquer the world with what we know now. And the sequel opens up with them feeling that empowerment. Well, it doesn't actually, it backs up, but basically, he's excited. He knows things are going to change. He knows he's going to find the mentor who's going to teach him the next piece, because this is how it works. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. And so he goes to work excited with his radar up on how his life is going to change, because now he has this higher awareness. And the first thing that happens to him is he gets a reduction in pay. So this is the beginning of how the principles play out in real life scenarios, because the story is an allegory. A lot of it happens inside a dream. And so you can get all weird with a dream and teach all kinds of things. But the sequel shows, all right, how is he going to respond to that setback with his higher awareness? And how does that unnatural response lead to the door that was ready to open for him if he passed that test? And so the point of the sequel is to get you looking at your own situation through the lens of these principles, and knowing that if something goes sideways or backwards or haywire, that doesn't mean it's wrong. And it gets you looking at it like, ooh, where's the opportunity in this? And that teaches you and it shows you how to respond lawfully to whatever is going to come your way, so that you can glean the best possible outcome from it.
Okay, use the word lawfully to respond lawfully. Take us a little bit deeper on why that language.
Because, like Bob Proctor said, there are laws that govern all things. And if we understand the laws of success, if we understand the laws of growth, if we understand the laws that govern God's economy versus man's economy, then we are going to respond in our thoughts to situations, to our own concerns based on certain laws. And there's another book that kind of explains these laws more. It's my Hidden Treasures book. But one of the laws is there is the law of rhythm that promises that life is going to have ups and downs. And so when you're on a down and you find yourself having a rotten day, most people, the natural part of us, is going to assume that our life is heading towards disaster because obviously this is worse than it was yesterday. Therefore, we're headed towards disaster. But the lawful response to that would be to say, oh, there is a law of rhythm. This is a down day. I wonder what tomorrow is going to look like. And it changes our expectations. And when our expectations change, we start to be on that broadcast of more inspired ideas, and we respond to our dilemmas with more wisdom and with decisions that lead to the best possible outcomes.
Mm.
That's just
That's
one of the
beautiful.
7 or 8 laws that we talk about.
So you mentioned two of your other books then, Hidden Treasures and Portal to Genius, right?
Mhm.
As the sequel. So for
Yep.
those who are listening, it's not only just the Jackrabbit Factor, but would you say Jackrabbit Factor is first or
I
Hidden
would.
Treasures? Jackrabbit's first
Yeah, that one first.
and then Hidden Treasures or go straight to Portal to Genius?
Portal to Genius is the second part of the story. So if you liked the story format, go on with the story because what's in Hidden Treasures is integrated into the sequel. And
Okay.
so they're mentioned, they're talked about and whatever. It's just not as deep of a dive. And so if you're more of an intellectual and stories drive you crazy, then you can go straight to Hidden Treasures.
Okay, give them that option. But that's great for them to know that the hidden treasures exists so that they
Mhm.
can go, "Oh, what is she talking about with these laws?" And so for those who this is the right time and right place to learn, perfect for them to get into that. And they go to your website to find it, right? Thoughts
Yeah,
Alive?
can I say one more thing?
Yes.
So much has changed since we talked last. All right. So there over the years, I found that it's been a challenge to really sum up and give people like an understanding of what this is in a very condensed form. But I've felt the need to provide that. And so just this last year, I created a 2 chapter. I'm actually writing another book right now. And
Nice.
the first 2 chapters are the summary introduction to all these concepts with a link to the books, and it's all free. And so I might recommend that they go to rarefaith.org and start with that little introduction, because then at the end of
Perfect.
the introduction, they'll know which book they might want to read first.
Perfect. Oh, that's beautiful. Good job.
So
Make it
rarefaith.org.
Yeah,
I just
and
put that
that
in the chat. So I got that typed right.
good. And then the
Okay.
reason I
yes.
called it that is because there was a something that Boyd K. Packer said years ago. He said, there are 2 kinds of faith. One of them functions ordinarily in the life of every soul. There is another kind of faith, rare indeed. This is the kind of faith that causes things to happen. It is the kind of faith that is worthy and prepared and unyielding, and it calls forth things that otherwise would not be. It comes by gradual growth. It is a marvelous, even a transcendent power, a power as real and as invisible as electricity. Directed and channeled, it has great effect. And when I saw that that's the way he described what I believe this is, that's kind of where my whole focus turned to. I call this whole concept rare faith. It's that rare kind of faith that causes things to happen. And that's what this little intro ebook thing will kind of lay the foundation for.
Beautiful.
Oh, that's great. And this and all of this is encompassed in leading people into that.
Mhm.
And that's beautiful. Kim, did you have any questions before she? Oh, it's already
Well, I,
after.
I I don't have a question here. I just really want to have a tribute to Leslie because had that book not been given to us all those years ago, the gal that gave it to us, I'm sure of it that there were angels that were like, Kirk, read the book, read the book, because she just kept coming back and like over and over and over again. This a friend of ours in our old neighborhood, like four neighborhoods ago, and she was just relentless with Kirk, and he's kind of one of those people that just want to do his own thing. Well, finally he's like, fine, I'll read the book. And he read the book, and then he told me I had to read the book, so I read the book, and then I reached out to Leslie, and it was those moments of when Kirk started to put the principles into play that were in that book, that our lives began to change. And so the principles that are in the book that helped Kirk to begin to see and visualize and create our lifestyle then influenced me, which has then influenced this whole life that we've lived now. And so, Leslie, you were a big part of that. And we would not be the people that we are today had we not read the book, contacted you, created that relationship that we've had for all these years. And so I want to thank you. You've changed our lives forever. We will never be the same.
Thank you, Kim. And for the record, during that time that we were working together around 2010 or whatever, Kirk was my mentor right back.
Mhm.
I was, like I said, I was going through a really, really hard time where it looked like all the principles were suspended, and it was gut wrenching. And Kirk's mentoring was key in that, got us through that. And I will always be grateful. It's mutual. It goes both ways.
Cool. Very cool. We know you got to run. I'm gonna we'll end this and then I'll cry for an hour after this is over just because I'm so happy to see you and hear your voice. My soul is very happy to reconnect with you.
Can I share something on the screen?
Yes.
Yes. Hold on. Just there we go.
Oh, hang on. Where did it go?
While Leslie's looking, I'm super excited to revisit this book and share this with our dearest friends, our best friends of our life. And I'm excited. Oh, Leslie,
Remember that?
I was wanting to
No
find that
way.
picture.
Oh my
Yeah, we
gosh.
just accidentally ran into each other at an airport sometime. Where was this even? Was it Salt Lake?
It, no,
We
it
were in
was
Salt
in,
Lake.
are you sure?
Yeah.
I thought it was in Arizona. I thought we
Oh,
were down there somewhere or something. But
I don't
anyway,
know.
we crossed paths. It's super cool. I
Yeah,
totally
you're
remember
right,
that day.
Kirk. I think we were flying out of yeah, something. But
Yeah,
we just
yeah.
happened to run into each other in the
Well, and
airport.
I love that we color coordinated because it looks like that was intentional.
Totally. You got to send me this picture again because I was trying to
Oh
find
my
it.
gosh.
Yeah, I will.
Oh my gosh. That is great.
Well, thank you
Oh,
for the invitation to be here.
yes.
It's been so fun. Love to do it again sometime.
Yes.
Thank you so, so,
Oh,
so
we
much.
will.
Thank you.
We will. All right,
Okay,
Leslie.
love
Love you.
you.
You
Thank
Thank
too. Take
you.
you.
care. Bye.
Wow. That was
Okay,
amazing.
that was so good.
I love
That was
her.
so good. I, I
Okay.
I thought it was really cool that that when I'm like, oh, what's your favorite part? And she's like, and this happens to people who are teachers and presenters and really into personal development, is you keep learning layer upon layer, line upon line. And obviously she knows more. I mean, this book is years ago that she wrote it, but to a person today, this is massive. Like I've been speed reading this lately and just, just reading through it again and marking it up. And I'm like, oh my goodness, there's so much good in here. It just helps me just realize this is a great way to introduce somebody to the idea that you can do something about your life.
Kirk, what happens, I believe, in our lives is that when we first read this book, we were in a completely
Yeah.
different space in our life. And these concepts of mindset and how you can change your life and create literally were so new to us, and we didn't know anything that we know now. And I mean, like we were just like babies in this experience. And then to go back and read something that was so profound and made such a difference, it's like the principles in the book are true. They're all true principles. And to go back and read them, you know, literally, I think it's been about 18 years ish, between 15 and years, 18 years. I'll figure it out later, and have this experience with the knowledge and our come from is so different. Coming back to this is just profound.
I
Share what
like
you're experiencing right now.
I in reading this again, I am definitely seeing things I've never seen in other any other time that I've read it. So it's not a one-time read, but it definitely is. If anybody here hasn't picked it up to start to read it, obviously we're highly suggesting it. So Kim, will
And we'll
you
talk
put in the
about the
chat?
Jackrabbit Factor just in case anyone doesn't know.
Oh, I will. I'm going to.
You hold it
But
up.
will you put in the chat the link to the audio where her
Yes,
husband reads it? Okay, so I don't know about how people read, but I've been reading or following along as I've been listening to her husband read it
Trevin.
and Trevin read it. So I'm going to put this in the chat. So there's the YouTube link to the Jackrabbit Factor audio. And it shows on here that it take you about 3 hours and 20 minutes to get all the way through the book. So not too long. I mean, within a couple days, you could consume this and be able to start to see what principles are standing out to you at the level that your understanding is at. And we got to realize that we're all at different levels of understanding. We're not at the same. We're all different. And so you might share the book with somebody and go, "Hey, you got to read this." And they go, "Oh, that was a cute story." So we get to be patient and understanding that everybody's at different levels of learning and looking and searching for answers. You might find a lot, but others might not. But it's a great book though to kind of test the waters to be able to see where they're at. So for you, I don't know where you're at. Where are you at in the book? And so I'm going to wait and see what everybody says in the chat of where you're at. And even if you haven't read it, just say you haven't read it and it's totally fine because I got a lot of cool things to share with you today. And I'm going to specifically not just talk about the story, but actual principles that are in there that I think are super applicable for where we are today that hopefully will be good timing for you to hear about. Super cool. So just checking in on the chat. Oh, good. Thank you for giving me the update of where you're at. Yeah. Okay, super cool. Okay, the link for the YouTube video did show up, and we also now know rarefaith.org to be able to have that, what Leslie talked about. Perfect. All right, love that. All right, I'm going to share something that just I came across this morning that was just fantastic. And so when you read the book, I hope this is something that you look for. Let me just get to the chapter here really quick so you can mark it if you have the book. I think you guys know that I'm really big on visualization and, using visualization and practicing it. And I came across the page today as I was reading or listening to the audio. I came across the page where it was talking about visualization. So if you're interested in that, on the visualization part, it really starts to take effect on page 114 and 115 is where Richard, the main character in the story, he's in a situation where he's learning from someone what to do. And he's talking about uh, the struggles that he's having trying to figure out how to be successful. Like he's just trying to figure it out. And he meets this person who now is starting to teach him about, what to look at, what to focus on. And they start to talk about the principle of visualization. And it just really stood out to me as he was covering this that in the middle of page 115, he the guy says to him, he says, the first time you ever try to visualize something, trying to like, you heard Leslie's story, how she was like in her head trying to imagine the house she wanted to live in, and how it was just a little bumpy and awkward trying to get that visualization started. Um, in this book, it says, the guy says to Richard, the main guy, he says, the first one is always the hardest. He says, let me guess, how you pictured it in your mind was kind of vague, wasn't it? And so he's pointing out the fact that we all have this side to us that we're new at it. It's not something like it's just instantly perfectly inside of our head and we're really good at it, that it's something that is not just going to come together easily. And so the reason why this stands out to me is because I have a tendency to expect myself to figure things out fast. And it really is an unrealistic expectation because to figure things out fast means that I'm just supposed to like download it. And I think in the world of downloads, where we can download a document, where I can download a video and put it in chat, like it's really fast to transfer information. But what's interesting, it still takes time to get information into our head. I can download a video and give you a video in seconds, copy it from one website, YouTube, and then post it here. And then instantly you have the download of a 3 hour audio of the book. Where if I said, okay, now it's time to visualize, you might have this thought that you should be able to just download the program of visualization and click it. It's kind of like downloading an app. You can go to the App Store, click the app, the little circle happens, and then poof, you have an app. Like it's really fast. I think what it does to us, though, is it messes up our reality check. That things that happen inside of us, we don't have apps to download. We don't have downloads to upload in our head. So when it comes to things like visualization, we could have some unconscious expectation that it should happen fast. And it's unconscious expectation. And the reason why I say unconscious expectation is because we quickly react with frustration. Like frustration says, this is not happening like I thought it was. That's what frustration is actually speaking. It's like I thought it was going to happen this way and it didn't. So when we get frustrated, we actually have unconscious expectations. Like we thought things were going to be fast. We thought they were going to be easy. We thought we could go do our 4 errands in 45 minutes. We thought we could travel to the grocery store and back in 15 minutes. We think it's going to happen a certain way, but then we get a reality check.
Could I jump in right here?
Yes.
I think what's happening in our society that we live in right now is, we have these phones and they're just incredible and they do so much for us and we watch videos and we watch how quickly we can just watch a video. And we see all these people with all this knowledge and all this experience and all this knowing and all these possibilities and all these creations. And then at least for me, I like what you're saying, Kirk, is I forget that there is my own educational experience that I need to shut everything off and actually take the time to process and think and visualize inside my own brain and create in my own brain what I want the outcome to be. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah. And then in that learning process, it's not going to happen fast.
And we're filling our time with so many other things and jumping from thing to thing to thing to thing to thing and not giving our own time space to do exactly what you're saying, Kirk.
Yeah, we don't we it's very common to not take time to improve the skills we have inside. Like my thought process about me or my visualization or my language I use inside my head about everything. I it's very common not to take time to make that better and clean that up and stop certain thoughts and start other thoughts. We're very on our phone. It's now that we have phones that are with us a lot, it's we are on our phone trying to solve our problems with our phone. Faster emails, better websites,
Yeah.
better logos, you know, downloads and videos and downloads. It's like that we think that that's going to solve all of our problems. Or if we watch a ton of videos, it's going to fix our life.
Like what you and I were having a conversation this morning, going outward, thinking everything in the outward world is going to fix our things, fix our
Yes.
problems, fix our life, fix this, fix that.
Yes. Yes. And so we miss the fact that everything we are part of comes from the inside to our outside to everything. That's the flow as it comes from inside me to the outside to everything. So everything that happens around me is an extension of me. And if I don't like what's out here, if I follow that track back, it starts from inside. But the now the thing is my download drive through instant pudding, you know, uh, cook something in 2 minutes in the microwave kind of thinking is going to frustrate that learning process because I'm going to think from my environment is that it's going to happen fast. It doesn't happen fast. And so when something doesn't happen fast, we kind of just quit. We just don't do it.
And fast meaning like in the next 10 minutes, the next 30 minutes, the
Yeah,
next day, the next
I'm
whatever.
I'm going to think this visualization thought, did it happen? Kind of like that kind
Oh,
of
right,
thinking. Like I
right.
thought a thought, why do I not have it? Because I can get it from Amazon today. How come my thoughts can't go that fast? Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh wow, I think I want to buy something. I can click the button, it's here by 4 o'clock.
Correct.
And now we actually, in a weird way, don't think we need the internal system because we are getting service all around us.
Oh, yes, that's profound.
It's kind of a tricky situation is that I can get something shipped to my house. I can get things dropped off to my house. I can do drive-throughs.
Well, and you can go to, AI and have a whole conversation, outward conversation.
Yeah, we can, hey, AI, build me a website, build me a landing page, answer this, give me a recipe, coach me, be my therapist, all these fast, fast, fast things. And it takes us away from the inside. From the inside.
We're,
So
we're losing the ability to create from the inside of our heart and our
yes,
mind,
yes.
our own heart and our own mind. Creation starts here first.
And what's interesting is if you're the kind of person who studies other people and what they teach, you will find that the common denominator amongst all the global gurus that are teaching that they still teach you need to go inside yourself and work on that on the inside, your internal dialogue and your internal imagery. Everybody's teaching the same thing. So everybody's telling us, but society and culture is saying push a button and you'll get your answer. If you push buttons on your phone, you'll get what you need. But then we have people who are very, very frustrated because they're not getting what they really want. And it's like, yeah, we got to go inside. And so in this book on page 115, when the discussion is going along and he says, oh, you must have pictured it in your mind kind of vague. And he's teaching him saying, I know it's in the beginning, it's vague and it's hard. And the guy says, oh, Richard says, I know I had a hard time seeing it in my mind when it appeared. It's hard to do this. It doesn't mean it's broken. It just means that it just hasn't been used very much. And it doesn't take long to be able to help condition our mind to visualize or to start to use better dialogue, but to give ourselves mercy. So if we ever catch ourselves being frustrated with ourselves, we get to go, wait a second, is this an unconscious expectation that I should be as fast as everything else around me? Because we got to keep those separate. Keep myself separate than Amazon. Keep myself separate than all the technology going on in the world. And to have mercy on my progress, but to do the practice. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to you, Kim? Is it coming out
Yes.
in a way that makes sense? Okay.
So
Um, what were we gonna say?
what does that look like for a person?
So I think while reading this book, because we're focused on get the book, read the book, is while you're reading the book and you're noticing the journey of Richard and even his wife Felicity, when you see what she goes through, you will see them be frustrated. Notice the moments when they get frustrated, and then what do they learn next? So I think and so I've like today I've been reading about an hour. I spent about an hour reading today, and in the time of 1 hour, there's been multiple times in the book where either one of them, Felicity or Richard, have come to a point of being frustrated, and in the frustration, they have a realization of why they're being frustrated and they make a small adjustment. That is gold nuggets. That is like gold in this book.
Can you tell a spot that you're talking about?
Nope, it's for the book readers. It's like everybody here, we're studying the book. So
So as they're reading, can you give them a clue of what they're looking for when they're seeing that spot you're talking about?
yeah, I'm not going to give the exact moments,
Yeah.
but what you're going to see is the book will go along and it will amp up to a frustration. And then a teacher appears. And Leslie said this when she was talking to us. She goes, the teacher will appear. And when they ramp up to a frustration, the teacher appears. And sometimes they don't see the person as a teacher.
Mm.
And so they miss the lesson. And then the teacher goes away. And then now they kind of struggle. And then it ramps up again to a frustration. And then another teacher appears. But watch what happens when the teacher appears. Because I think what each of us will discover while reading the book is we can relate to being so caught up in our mess of our life, we don't see the teacher who's literally right there to show us a new way of thinking. Because if we're frustrated, it's showing us our thinking is not in the best place. And so I noticed that because I was like reading fast, not fast, but I was just listening to the audio. So, because usually I'll read like 3 or 4 paragraphs and then I got to like do something and then come back to it. So, this is like an hour's solid worth of reading, which is rare for me to be able to do that. So, I saw the pattern. I saw a pattern of frustration, and then a teacher would appear and they would miss the lesson. And then frustration, a teacher would appear and they go, oh, okay, what do I do? And when they were in that teachable place, while being frustrated, the teacher would show them a new way of thinking. If you remember what Leslie said, she said that there are God's laws and then there's people laws. And people try to be successful with people laws and they can't because they're frustrated. But when we live the way that God has it set up, that's where abundance shows up. And
And,
so,
and that's learning to tune our frequency into God's laws
yeah,
versus the people laws.
yeah, that if
Tuning
you
that frequency.
exactly. Yeah, and I like what Leslie said is like when you have it down, it doesn't mean everything's bad. It's the law of rhythm. It's like the tide comes in, the tide goes out. The sun comes up, the sun goes down. It gets
Seasons
cold in
of
the
life.
winter, it gets warm in the summer. Everything's
Right.
traveling in rhythms, and we can't stay on a everything's good all the time rhythm. That's not a rhythm. It will fluctuate. But when it fluctuates down, she was talking about her reactions, where she was like, "Oh my gosh, this is terrible." And her friends were telling her like, "Wow, your reactions are making this worse. You're making this worse. It's a rhythm. It's going to change. But your reactions are making this last longer, be more dramatic, more painful, then you really need to make this right now. But in the book, you'll see it, and I hope everybody continues.
You don't even have to read it. You could just literally go
Listen,
to that link and have
yeah,
Trevin read it to you, which is Leslie's husband. Have him read it to you. It'll
yeah,
take 3.5 hours.
yeah, because I have some there's like 10 spots I have circled, like really big circle. I'll show you. There, I have like spots that are just circled like crazy. Ah, like I just want to just scream about it. It's so powerful. Here's one on page 125. This is my page 125. That paragraph right there. What? So I want to cover that like a wrap up in January. We're talking, did I just say January? I
Second
just
week
did
of January.
what?
Yeah.
What? That's crazy. How did that even happen? Okay, and then wait, there's another one
I
here.
really feel like the timing of you being able to be here, in this experience with Kirk and I is going to set you up for a 2026 that is going to be super powerful because
That's what I'm thinking.
you're gonna learn that you right here inside your heart, inside your mind, you have the power to tune into that frequency of your higher power of God that will help you to see and create abundance of possibilities you've never even been able to think or be about. But you're going to have to set this down. You're going to have to set this down.
So I like here's another one, page 90.
Yeah,
This
give us some
paragraph.
teasers, Kirk.
Yeah, page 90 right there is huge. It's huge. But I think if somebody were reading it for the first time would go, "Okay, that's interesting." But
So
I have some
can
very
you share?
specific
You can't share any of it right now?
no,
Why?
no, no, because it won't make sense.
Oh,
It won't make sense.
okay.
Everybody read. Come back in January. It's not going to
Listen.
take you that, or
No.
listen, listen to the audio. Listen to the audio so that I can share this and I will share it. Even if you don't read the book next in January, I will share my circled paragraphs and why.
Oh, Kirk.
I will
Okay.
share that. No
Let me,
question.
can I ask you a question?
Yes.
I want you to tap back into when you read the book the first time. Go back to that brain space of your life. Share with me and you, the person that's here listening, our best friend. Share what it was. What struck you in that first time to actually follow through and do something?
Why did I do what I read in the book? Why did I do it? So, because I was in pain. I was in pain. I didn't have an answer. I didn't understand what to do next. And my struggle was causing me to be in pain and difficulty.
Can you share a little bit about your pain?
And it was just struggle time of progress of who I am. And that friend who gave me the book, by the time I actually received the book from her, is because she literally had to say to me, whatever your problem is, this is going to solve it. And she looked at me and she goes, I don't know what you're struggling with, and you don't need to tell me, but I need to tell you right now, there are principles in this book that will get you through that struggle. And it was that moment that I went, all right, that's what I'm looking for. Something to get me through this struggle. So I went into the book with a reason. I went into the book of I have a struggle. I'm struggling with money. I'm struggling with business. I got to figure out what's my issue with this? How am I going to fix this? And so I went into it with a reason. So it wasn't just to make my neighbor happy. She got to me with that.
And then you begin to read the book, and then you begin to do some of the principles from the book. What then happened in your life? What principle did you start doing?
So the number one principle that I pulled that I caught that stood out to me when I read the book was to be able to visualize what I want. It was another teacher of visualization, but I was being vague.
Like I want to go back to just for a moment, if we like literally go back to the beginning of the Bible, the earth was created first. How?
Everybody can read Genesis, right, to see how it's talked about. In the
No,
beginning was the
that's
Word.
like the beginning, like we're talking about the beginning laws of how the universe was created.
Yeah, so the you read Genesis and you watch how things are created and how it's spoken of, it is with detail. And you got to figure these records have lasted a long time, and so I'm sure there's some pieces that are missing with the details, but there's a lot of detail about each day and what was created. And so we can learn from that if we're going to, and I like what she said about rare faith, that there's a faith that people have, a belief in things, but the rare faith is that type of faith that creates something that wasn't there. It wasn't there. And I'm interested in that. I'm interested in creating something that wasn't there before, to be able to go, okay, this isn't here, but I'm going to use my thoughts and my faith, my belief to create this. And what are the components of faith? Well, to me, what I've learned so far is the components of faith for me and how it operates is I have to see it to believe it, but not see it out here, see it in here. The see it to believe it principle actually applies to the inside of my mind, not to the outside of my mind. But some people take the see it to believe it principle outwardly and like, well, I don't see it, so I don't believe it. And so people take that inward principle and apply it to the outside world. And they just discount things and disbelieve things so quickly and so radically. They even tried to denounce a creator, and so it's like, wow, okay, so I'm going to use the see it to believe it inside my head. And then the second part is the story I tell myself inside my head about what I'm doing. And from what Leslie said and what is said in this particular book, it definitely talks about why do you want to create it? What's the purpose behind it? Like I'll never forget when I put on my vision board a picture of a fishing boat. And when I put the fishing boat on the vision board, my first thought was, yeah, right. I'm going to have my own fishing boat. I've always borrowed my father-in-law's little aluminum boat to go fishing. I've never had my
And
own
that wasn't
fishing
your
boat.
first picture, by the way.
No, when I first put my fishing boat picture on the vision
No, no,
board.
no. Well, I'm
Oh
just
yeah, I've done
clarifying.
other
I'm
things.
just clarifying.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah,
Just
this wasn't the
clarifying.
first
So,
time I
so our best friend that's listening
so
understands that that was not your first picture.
it was not my first thing on the vision board. I'd been already been using my vision board for a while, so I knew that it worked. But even then, when I put that fishing boat picture on there, my first response was, "This isn't going to work."
And
Eh,
you'd already been practicing this for a long time.
Right. And in the book, you'll see Richard in the book, he gets taught a really powerful principle, and he already had had some level of success, but then he met a new teacher, and the teacher challenged him to a higher level of success. And doubt came back. So even
Mhm.
though he had gotten through doubt to get a particular level of success, when a new teacher showed up and was causing him to even increase his
Challenge his
visualization,
brain to the next level.
challenge him the next level, you see in the sentences that doubt comes back at the next level. So doubt is always there to
It's
be
never
overcome.
going to leave us, is what you're
No,
saying.
it's
Like
it's just that
doubt is always going to be there.
and it's the brain saying, it doesn't say this in the book, but doubt generally comes from the fact that the brain analyzes what is to be done and analyzes if we have the skill or if we've ever done this before. And the brain comes back and says, we've never done this before. So therefore, it's not possible. And it's our job to approach the brain and say, I know we've never done this before, but we're going to do this. And so now it becomes the wrestle between who do you listen to? The fact checker of our mind or the faith side of our mind? Which one do you listen to? The faith driven part of the mind or the fact checker of the mind? Because my fact checker would say that fishing boat is impossible. But the fishing boat was one of the most detailed experiences I've ever had on my vision board because I wanted it so bad. But my doubt was intense that I can't have what I want because I've never done it before and I have no idea how to do it. But I knew I had to battle this doubt with detail. The way to battle the doubt is to input details. And the details were going to sleep at night in my mind, taking somebody fishing. Who am I taking fishing tonight? I'm going to go hook up the boat because it's in the backyard. I'm going to stop and buy snacks. We're going to get some worms. We're going to drive up to the lake at Strawberry Reservoir. I'm going to back the boat in. And this is the person in the truck with me. And we're going to go fishing. And this is how many fish they're going to catch. And this is how many, what I'm going to eat for lunch. And this is the temperature, the sunrise, how many birds are going to fly over. What part of the lake are we fishing on? What lures are we using? What are we talking about? And the funny part of the person kissing the fish and taking pictures of them being super excited of catching fish. And you can see on my wall over here, I have pictures of people. I can't move my computer, but there's people over here who have been on the boat. So I went into detail in my head to tell the story to beat the doubt. Because the doubt is there are no details from the past to prove this can happen. That's fine. I'm going to add details that this is going to happen because it's already happening inside my head. And that was a big, huge part I learned about my vision board. But the Jackrabbit Factor book got me started with using more detail. Vague doesn't create, detail does. In here. And I like what Leslie said. She said, you think through the story enough that it actually starts to produce a feeling. It starts to produce a feeling. And when that feeling starts to get produced of excitement or anticipation or like, oh, that would be so much fun, now you know that the thoughts and the details are literally causing things to happen inside your body. It's producing. And it's literally in the mindset world, it's called conception. When the thoughts turn into feelings and activate feelings, it's like, oh, we now have conception. We are now mentally pregnant. And then there's a gestation period to wait for it to be created. And then there's delivery where it happens.
When in a day do you feel is the best place to do this process?
My most effective time to do visualization is right before I get out of bed, is to walk through visualization in my head. And then right after I get in bed and I'm starting to fall asleep, I'll go, okay, what story am I going to walk through now? So I'm either thinking everything I didn't do for the day, or I'm thinking how everything's going to come together. I got to choose where am I going to go with my thoughts before I go to sleep.
Do you remember that story? I forget who it actually is, but there's this famous person from the past that would hold some rocks in their hand and they would put themselves into this mode of thinking
Oh,
about.
Einstein.
Is
They
I
they
thought it was
say
Einstein.
they
Yeah.
say it was Einstein. He held a rock, and then when he'd fall asleep, he'd drop a rock in a bucket, and it would wake him up. But he
And
was trying to get into that state of mind of he's not
state.
conscious, he's not unconscious, he's right in that middle zone. So when I'm first waking up, visualization is really powerful, and when I'm starting to fall asleep, so I'm in that zone of not conscious, not unconscious, but the door's open.
And the reason why that is because at that state of our life, in our day, our mind is a little bit more flexible, and it's able to allow us to bring in ideas that we maybe during the conscious, super conscious part of our days, we would reject. Is that correct,
Yeah, and
Kirk?
that the rejection system is called the reticular activating system. And it's a filter that filters unnecessary information all day long. And so our reticular activating system actually rejects millions and billions and billions of bits of data to not bother the brain. And so it's rejecting all kinds of stuff. It only focuses on what you tend to ruminate on. So if you ruminate on negativity, your reticular activating system only lets in negativity. So you can't see the positive in the world. So your reticular activating system can actually block yourself from seeing blessings from God or answers to prayers or
Miracles.
miracles. You can't even see them because your own reticular activating system, you've taught it that those are not even happening. And so it's not important. So because you ruminate on negativity, that's all it lets in. So you see the world as negative. You see the world as crashing. You see the world as terrible. Or you
So
see
you
money as,
continue to bring those things into your life. And so you're tuning your frequency that you're experiencing in life to this level.
yeah. So the plan is to ruminate on what you want. Because if you ruminate on what you want to have happen more than what you're scared of, you change your filter to then start to see how to create that. Because one of the biggest saboteurs in our life is a filter that's programmed to let negativity in, but not good things in. And so you can't build, you can't create, you can't move forward, but people generally don't take time to ruminate on the good. So they're set to only let in the bad. So they're not good enough, they're not fast enough, they're not smart enough. Nothing's going to work. It never works out for me. God doesn't love me. People don't love me. Nobody will forgive me. I'm just always this way. And it's like, that's not your personality. That's your filter. It's your filter. So you got to ruminate on what's good. And when something bad happens, you don't fall apart. You go, wait, this is changing things. It's showing me something. What's it showing me? So you're pulling the good out of what just changed. You're staying in that ruminating part of what are you building? What are you creating? How do you want this to turn out? And I got to say, in the last 18 months, holy smokies, I've let my ruminator go the other way too far. I've had some difficult things happen in the last year and a half, which knocked me off my path. And my reticular activating system went offline for a while. What I mean is like it went to the negative and it just got me consumed with everything that's wrong. And it's like, wow, this is terrible. And so getting my head back online of like, I know these things, but I gotta be patient with myself as I put my reticular activating system back on ruminating on what is good and what I'm creating.
So, Kirk, what you're saying to me is even those people like yourselves who've figured it all out can have moments, seasons.
Yeah, just like Leslie said, she had wrote the book, they were living the principles, and then they had tough things happen and it shook her. And it's like, well, it's one thing to know the stuff, to know these things, but we all get to have the rhythm of ups and downs, no matter who you are.
And why is that important to have the rhythm?
Well, I think it's God's way. It's God's way to see, can you be grateful things are.
Yes,
So I think the magic here, the beautiful actual practical steps here is to number one, what I've learned from Leslie Householder, her books, classes, everything I know is pay attention to where I'm at in my head. Where's my thoughts going? And, number one is how am I being on the inside? And then number two, where are my thoughts going? Where's my head going? What am I ruminating about? Ruminating about the end of the world? We're all going to die? Well, that's going to mess up your life. Am I ruminating about terrible things? Well, that's going to set you up to only see terrible things. Or am I ruminating that I believe miracles are possible and that healing is happening on the planet and good things can still happen? I mean, what am I ruminating about? I better figure that out and get my head ruminating on what I want to have happen.
so when you're in that space where you find yourself ruminating on the worst case scenario stories, what do you do?
You mean like last night? I tell you, I think even the devil gets involved with this. I think he knows how the system works and he just tempts us and just tries to beat us up with things going bad. It's like to make me question myself or question what I'm doing or question the direction I'm going. But the weird thing is that happened, and I'm gonna pretend like nobody's listening. It's just you and me talking. Last night I went to bed and I was struggling so much because I had all these. I could tell the adversary, the devil, was just like working me last night, and I'm like, something must be good because this is a lot. Like this is more than normal. But I was observing it happening, and I could go, okay, I'm in a bad mood, but I'm watching myself have a bad mood, going, why? And then I woke up this morning like in the best mood. It was like, why am I happy? Like I woke up and I was like, wait a minute, I'm happy. How did that even happen? I went to bed in this weird way and I'm like, but why am I happy? And I woke and I was like, wow, I actually believe some things I was worried about are gonna actually work out. And I'm like, what is going on? And I backtracked. And last night I wrote down a bunch of stuff that I was ruminating on. And but last night I was telling myself, I go, I got to quit this. I have to think about something else. I have to change my thoughts and I wrote it down because I wanted to see it and go, no, tell my brain, quit thinking about that. I want you to think about this. So I changed what I was thinking about when I went to sleep last night.
So are you saying to write out your stuff? Is that what you're saying to do? Get your
I,
negative out?
for me, it works to be able to see what I'm battling. Some people don't like to do that, but I do. I like just a couple bullet points, like this. And I'm looking at it going, okay, if I keep thinking this way, this isn't going to happen. This is not going to work. These are thoughts that don't work. It's not working for me. So then I switch thoughts and I go, okay, I'm going to start thinking about these things. I'm going to go this way.
Tuning yourself into that higher frequency.
Yeah. And changing what my filter is filtering. I want to have my reticular activating system seeing opportunities and steps and people and how things work. I want to see that. I don't want good things of life to be hidden from me by my filter because good things of life can be right in front of you and you can't see it. If your filter is not tuned for it, you can't see it.
It is
You could
so
have
true.
you could have three people sitting at a kitchen table and two of them pessimists and the other one is an optimist and they're all eating lunch together, living in the same world. And their stories are completely different in how they see things. I want to be an optimist. I want to be a faith-filled person. I want to be a believer. Oh, it was in this book. In the Jackrabbit Factor, there's a part where they were talking about aerodynamics. That if you take a jet and you go back, 500 years and you showed everybody a jet, they would be like, what is that? It's like, people would freak out about it. But as time went along, this mystical thing of a jet became reality. And so the law of aerodynamics got figured out, and now you could build these things and fly them in the sky where it used to be never possible. And what was said in reading the book this morning was that the laws of thought are considered mystical today. Just like aerodynamics was mystical, that you could fly, that a piece of metal could fly through the sky and carry hundreds of people. That was a mystical thought. But as the laws of aerodynamics were realized and understood, now you can fly a piece of metal through the sky. But
And, and
right now,
and we get on these airplanes and we don't even recognize the miracle of that. We
it
just get
went,
on and it's
yeah,
just doom. It's just
it went, it went from mystical to huge,
standard.
huge advantage to have
Standard.
jets. But they were saying in the book, the guy says, he goes, yeah, but the laws of thought today are considered mystical. And it will be revealed how the laws of thought actually work. But right now, we're still on the unveiling of the laws of thought and the laws of emotion, that they are considered woo woo to do a vision board or woo woo to do a life story or declarations. It's woo woo. because it's mystical. It's for you, personal development people. But just like the law of aerodynamics was realized, and even the law of gravity, those laws have always been in place. And if you don't agree with the law of gravity, you still have to deal with it. And the law of thought, if you don't agree with it, that your thoughts produce, you still have to deal with it. Even if you choose not to know the law even exists or don't even, and you think it's woo woo, it doesn't mean it's not affecting you,
Right.
but it is a law. And
I,
so I think it's important to watch what we think.
I love what you've come to because we're down to the end of our call right now. But what I'm hearing you say, Kirk, is that we're going into a new year. We're going into a new year, and we have just a couple weeks, a few days, if you will, to be able to, I mean, get your. I love reset moments. I love reset moments because like. Okay, I can let go of all of the things that I have not done that I wanted to. And knowing that I can recreate my life, I can reimagine my life, I can see something different that I didn't have a month ago, a year ago, 2 years ago. And if things didn't turn out the way I wanted them to this past year, I can make something happen today. I can change. And I remember that was one of your very first words that you said in the very beginning of your transformation, 18 years ago. You said, I can change. And those were the very first words that you heard from you. You heard these words from God. The Spirit whispered into your head, Kirk, you can change, and you didn't think you could change, and you heard these words and you're like, I can change. And then you began to open up your eyes and your heart and you say you open your mind and your heart, and your eyes and your ears began to hear and see things you'd never seen before, because you altered your reticular activating system to accept that I can change. This is the moment right now. I believe that Kirk is giving you a call to action, if you will, and that is to do three things. What are those three things, Kirk?
I
You
think,
just said it. You just said it a minute ago.
and I did, and I think I'm going to narrow it down to one.
Oh, okay.
I'm going to narrow it down to one.
Okay.
Going into this end of the year, pick something that you want and begin ruminating on it, and know that doubt's going to come up. And as the doubt comes up, add more detail to your what you're ruminating on. When doubt comes up, add more detail. Focus on the details. Just pick one thing, practice the one thing.
And when we said focus on details, we're focusing on the positive details of what you want.
Yeah, for example, with the fishing boat, you and I went to the store so I could touch the boat, I could look at the boat, I could take pictures of the boat, and so I could add more details to me taking somebody fishing. And so every night in my mind, I would take someone fishing, and I would walk through hooking up the boat, putting stuff in the boat, getting to I mean, all the details of going fishing. And so as doubt would come up, I'd go, oh, okay, well, I'm going to add more details of what I'm eating for lunch while we're fishing. If doubt would come up, I'd go, oh, let me take somebody else fishing. Let me take Kim fishing for my birthday. Let's
That story just kept
more
adding
detail,
detail, more
more
and more and more
detail.
and more detail.
And then the other detail is, how do I feel while I'm fishing with
So it's
Kim?
not just an image you're seeing, you're experiencing the feeling inside.
Yeah. And so it's like, it's interesting because I see it, I'm telling the story, and I'm practicing feeling good about fishing in the boat.
So you're experiencing this from all the different senses that we have.
See it, I'm telling the story. Oh, and now we're doing this, and then also
So you're
it's
seeing
cold,
it.
it's summer, it's raining, it's winter, and then the question is, well, how do I feel while I'm taking somebody fishing? and it's cold. Oh, it's so fun. We're like jackets, we got the little heater going, we're reeling in fish, but that excitement would build of just like, this is so cool to go fishing in this boat with so many
And
people.
did you, when you did this, did you think it was real?
Um, I can tell you this, that on my fingers, I can still feel the little rubber pieces that poke up on a brand new tire. You know, on a brand new tire, how there's those little tiny little rubber pieces that kind of poke off the tire. I remember rubbing my hand on the tire at the boat dealership and feeling those little pieces. So when I would go fishing in my head, I would touch the tire in my head. Like I went and touched the boat. So I know the boat's real. So when my eyes were closed, I could recall those senses of touching the boat. So I did everything I could in my head to make it as real as possible before
And
I
why
fall
did you
asleep.
want the boat? What did that represent?
Because the biggest part is I wanted a fishing boat to take people fishing who have never really caught a lot of fish or caught a big fish because I wanted to bring joy. And that's what's happened. I've had some of the most crazy fishing trips. And I'll say this one and then we got to go is that there's a guy I took fishing and we had caught some little ones and we're on the way back to the truck. And I said, okay, God, when I take people fishing, we have moments that are just special. And we haven't really had a special moment yet with this guy. Where can we catch a fish? And immediately I heard a voice say, go down the lake, turn right after that mountain. There's a big one that's laying up in there. Go catch that one. He's ready to go. And I was like, what? Like that was like super detailed. And I looked at the guy and I says, hey, we gotta, I know we gotta try one more spot before we go home. He's like, yeah, sure. And so we go around the mountain and we go up to this spot. We go way into the shallow. It's like 3 feet deep. And he's like, what are we doing? And I said, just hold on. And we start trolling as we troll out of the shallows that drops off into this deep. Boom. He catches this 5 pound rainbow, which is a big fish for common fish. This 5 pound rainbow was beautiful. And he was freaking out. He was like a little kid. He couldn't stop smiling. He was flipping out. He kept saying, I've never caught a fish this big in my life. And as he was just bursting with joy, and we're taking pictures of his fish, and he wants to take it home and show his kids because he's like, my kids are going to flip out. I just sat there and I went, this is what happened in my dreams. This is the things I thought about. It wasn't about me having a fishing boat. It was about me having a fishing boat and taking people fishing.
Well,
I
and
got to take them fishing.
it wasn't about what it would take you to have a fishing boat because at the time you were thinking about this fishing boat,
I
we
didn't
were
have any
not in a
money.
place. No, we weren't
I
in a
didn't have any
place to
money.
buy a fishing boat.
I didn't have any money to buy the fishing boat. I had no idea how to make it happen. And then this is like too much detail, but we were cleaning the fish out and we threw the innards out into the lake. And I don't know where this came from, but a bald eagle comes streaking down from the sky 5 feet from the boat, grabs the innards right in front of us. We're like, holy cow, this bald eagle just, and we look at each other like, did that just happen? It was like so cool. So every time I go fishing, it's like something's gonna happen. Something memorable is gonna happen because this is how it plays out. The boat is to take people fishing. But that's where I went in my head, and that works for me. Like it doesn't work for me to have things just for myself. It's like I want others to experience it too. So in my story, I took people fishing, all kinds of people. And I've had fishing trips where me and the other guy just cried most of the time because we were talking so deeply with each other. And I've taken people fishing before where the guy that was on the boat with me was like, "Well, I'm going to jail tomorrow." I was like, "What? What did you do?" And he's like, "Help me. I don't know what to do before I go to jail." And it's like, "Oh, I'll coach you right now. Let's talk about it." I mean, just crazy stories. And you and I went fishing that one time and caught like what, 50
Well,
some
you were turning 50 and we wanted to
50.
have we went on your birthday and we caught 50 fish that
We
day.
caught 50 fish before we got off the lake. That was I will never forget that day. Never forget that day.
It
That
was
was
pretty fun.
miraculous. It was fun. Anyway, so I that's what I suggest is one step. Pick something to ruminate about. And when doubt shows up, add more details.
What a perfect time in our lives to bring this in. Love it, Kirk. Thank you.
And we're actually a couple weeks ahead of the new year. So this is like we're already revving up. Don't even have to wait till January
Okay,
1st
if
to
somebody wants to like do bonus material, what are the three things?
Why does it have to be three?
Because you said them. Story, gotta have your story clear.
I mean, like how I'm doing that, the visualization.
Well, there were three things you said just a few minutes ago. Do you remember what they were?
Well, I said,
Affirmations, visualizations. I forget what you said.
well, in this process of ruminating, I imagine the story, I tell the story, and I feel the story.
And you have it on you have your boat on your vision board.
Yeah, and I went and saw the boat so I could have lots of details. And when I was with the boat, I was looking at every rivet, every screw, every part, every piece, because I knew I'm going home to imagine this. I got to touch and feel everything. I remember the salesman coming up going, "Can I help you?" As I was like touching everything, I was just like gliding my hands over everything, like touching
That's
the
funny.
metal,
That's funny.
touching the little pokies on the tire, touching the propeller,
He had to have
not
thought
just
you were like some weirdo.
not just touching the steering wheel, but touching the steering wheel, the windshields. I mean, it was just I needed details because I got to battle my doubt. My brain says, "We've never bought a fishing boat like this before." I know. Well, since we've never done this and you don't have money, it's not going to happen. I know that's what you think, but I'm still going to visualize it. Yeah, it's fine. It's just never going to happen. No, watch. It's going to happen in my head. And that's where doubt rips us to pieces, is if we believe the doubt. And all it is a fact. I've never done it, don't have the money, no, have no idea how to do it. That is true. The fact is true, but I'm going to add faith to create a new movement.
Rare faith.
Rare faith to create something that wasn't there before. Something that wasn't in the driveway is right now outside my window. And it's taken a lot of
And you
people.
can look at it right there.
And it's right there. Now I just need a bigger boat because I got grandkids and I need to take all the
I
grandkids.
keep seeing you look over at your other wall over there.
So I found my next boat and I've thought of you a lot about this. The next boat has a covered section that is heated. So that way you can go fishing with me even when it's cold. And it's got a comfortable bench for you. And so this next boat is for you, just so you know.
Oh,
It's for you. It's not for me.
no.
It's for you. So that way you won't get rained on, you won't get snowed on, and it could be warm. And so you'll go fishing with me more often.
Thank you. Thank you, my friend. Thank you for being here with us today. This was really special to be able to share this with you and people that changed our lives forever. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning.
Fun, super fun.
Anything else you want to say before we say goodbye?
Oh, I've talked a lot. I'm good.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Kirk. Thanks for
You're
sharing.
welcome. You're
All right.
welcome. And we believe in all of you, and we know that these things we're teaching are true because we've practiced them ourselves. We are not just tellers, we are doers.
Yeah.
And so we already know it works. We just hope that you find how it can work for you.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Love you guys. Thank you.
Bye.